Hey everybody, welcome to episode 44 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with, we're going to do it differently this time. I'm Bob Clagett, here with David Picciuto.
Howdy.
And Jimmy Diresta.
Hello, everybody.
I hope we didn't confuse people there. How's it going?
Very good.
Good.
Awesome.
This is Jimmy. Things are great.
Good. What are you up to, Jimmy?
What am I working on? I just finished. It's been in my Instagram because I always tease everything with my Instagram. And by now, actually, it won't be out until Sunday. So today's Friday in the theoretical world. So it'll be out Sunday. My pro-con sign. And that's our good friend Joseph from Arizona.
Yeah.
Would one of you guys like to try and say his name?
Mensch.
Joseph Mensch.
Joseph Mensch.
So Joe gave me that job a long time ago, and I finally tied it up. I'm very happy that I got it done. It is the name of his company and his dealership. He sells those tractors. So I finished that sign this week. I'm very, very happy about that because I'm really also happy about the way it looks.
It looks awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you. And, we could talk about this at one point, but I never really mentioned this to Joe. I never mentioned it to anybody. But the reason that sign was kind of stalled in my shop is because there was a couple of little things that I didn't have like a clear vision on. And so when, that coupled with, when people are kind enough to say, don't worry, there's no real deadline, which Joe kept doing. And then I didn't have like a perfect vision for a couple of little aspects of it. It just lingers. And then, so these little things, they come like little roadblocks, really tiny little roadblocks, but it's enough to be just like, leave it over there for a little while until something comes to me. And so I started, I knew too much time had elapsed and I had an opening. I said, let me jump on this and get on it this weekend. And I'm really happy with the way it came out because I was able to solve a couple things right there on the spot. I went into it with different solutions in mind, but right there on the spot, I was able to come up with some cool stuff. And so I'm happy that that's done. My knife video is out, and I put that out last Sunday, and I was happy about that. That's doing really well. And not too many haters, honestly. Something happened with the comments section. I had hundreds of comments, and then they got deleted. Then suddenly I had 10 comments, and they built back up. But really positive stuff. So, I mean, if you guys are fans of that particular video, I want to say thank you to whoever's listening. Really good positive feedback of like, hey, next time you should try this. Not angry knife nerds being know-it-alls, but knife nerds being open and honest and friendly. So I really appreciate that. And that just makes the community altogether much better for everybody. So,
yeah.
If you know something more than me, share it in a lighthearted tone, and then you'll get some positive feedback from me and the other readers. If you got something that's a know-it-all, kind of a nasty approach, you're just going to get beat down. So,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
You used the Joseph Mensch project. You said you didn't have a deadline, and you kept putting it off. I personally, have to have a deadline for everything. Otherwise, I keep putting it off. And most times, that deadline actually forces me to be creative. Are you
absolutely?
Are you able to put things off without a deadline, or?
No. If there's a deadline, I have to make it work, and I usually do. I get some pretty strict deadlines with the liquor business because they're events that are scheduled, and I have to get things done. Like for instance, my bullet bourbon cart. There was a couple of little bumps in that when I was working with that, but I had my interns were with me during the summer, and they actually were pretty helpful in me getting that done in time. That was like one of those jobs, like by the end of tomorrow evening, can you have this done? I was like, and so I jump on it, and I knew it was a good opportunity for a video. That's the bullet bourbon cart. But yeah, that was an instance where I didn't know the answer to some questions, but I went right into it knowing that once I got to them, I would figure it out. So yeah, no, it's definitely a creative crunch when you have to do it and you don't know how to do it. You just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, and then I just wanted to mention, my fastest growing video is my 10 bottle caps. And thank you, Dave, for putting it in the Makers and Shakers. Appreciate that.
It's a good one. It is so good.
It was fun.
It really
It was a lot of fun. I made that I got paid as a campaign to do that. And for Let's Grab a Beer, it's this thing about, it's just it's like a blanket promotion for beer. It's like the ad council for beer. And they said, come up with something. So I came up with that. They didn't have really any creative input. They liked what I did. And I honestly said to her, the woman who hired me to do it, she was like a little nervous about some of the rusty tools. I go, I promise you this is going to go viral. I really feel it in my bones. And it's just broke 400,000 views as of today on Tuesday. Yeah. In just like 4 or 5 days.
Man.
And I've gotten hit up by a few news agencies that say, hey, can we run this? Do we have your approval to run it? Do you own the video? That kind of thing. I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. And then
I think the news agencies actually, they don't need your approval. They might
not. They just want to make sure that I own like if it's on my thing that that I can say it's all mine, so that I'm not reposting it from somebody else.
Yeah.
Because then everybody will get in trouble. So that's really, I think, what they're looking for. And then I even got hit up by, maybe you guys have heard of this place. I couldn't really tell, so I just ignored it. A thing called Storyful. They wanted to basically do a multi-channel network deal with me, but just for one video, for that one video. They said, we'll do a 2-year deal with you on that video, and we'll exploit it, and we'll share the money, but I'd have to turn off my monetization, and then they're in control of the monetization for just that one video.
Weird. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, me either.
I kicked him to the curb. I didn't answer him back. I did a little, Reddit is like the Shark Tank of, anything. So I found some conversation on Reddit about it. And the guy's like, I can't believe it. These guys wanted my video. I made $10 last month. I can't believe it off of this dumb video of my kid sitting in a car. And I've already made a lot more than that in the last couple of days. So, so forget it.
Everything about that video is fantastic. Like,
thank you.
It's so creative, but it's a great exercise in problem solving, right? Yeah. Any one of us could take that and like make 10 of anything, and then you're forced to think and fix.
That's it. Well, I'll tell you, the impetus of that video was, we were having conversations. Can you do something for beer, this, beer, that? And I was like, you know what? I did the 24 pack in April for the same client. And it was a perfect opportunity because it ended at my birthday when all my friends were in the shop. So I put the 24 pack down and everybody grabbed a beer out of it. And so there was a perfect ending to that. And with this, I knew I wasn't going to have a group of people around me by the time I needed to have this done. So I just kept popping the beers and then taking them out of the scene. I shot all the beer pops at the same time. I made all the tools throughout the week. But in the beginning, I made that one tool that was on my Instagram. It was an old garden shovel I found buried in my yard. I found it buried in the yard like 5 years ago. I was just leaning on the wall, like inside of the rafters of my workshop upstate. And so I grabbed it and I was like, oh, this would be cool if I just cut a hole in it for a pop top. And then I showed it to her and she's like, oh, it's kind of rusty. I'm not sure. And then I was like, you know what? Let me make 10 of them. And, I didn't think that was enough for a video. But I was going to make like 3 or 4. But then I was like, you know what? 10 is a nice even number. It'll force me to think. I thought of the saw as like the second one. I saw the shovel, the rusty shovel. Mm-hmm. Then the screwdriver was something I thought of. I had to go to the hardware store and buy a long screwdriver. And so that worked out well. And then I thought of the saw where I just cut a hole in the saw. But I thought I was going to be more creative and bend it. I was going to bend it so it's sticking off the wall and you'd walk up to it just like the old Coke machines and you'd pop it and it would be screwed to the wall. And when I just put the hole in it, I was like, you know what? It's almost funnier. It's still usable like this. And then I could,
That was my favorite.
So thank you. So now I have like some future plans of using it in a video where I like open a bottle of soda and then I go to cutting something.
Yes, you should. That's great.
Yeah, and then the others I just had to kind of, I had filler. We just went to WIA and I bought those bits. I talked about it last week, so I was able to use that for the hardened chisel. So it was cool. A few people have suggested, and it wasn't even my idea, do 10 things, do 10 of something else and do 10 of something else, quick and easy. So it'll be fun.
Very cool.
Be fun to keep this 10 thing going. But there's just not enough time in the day.
So before we get into what I'm doing, do you mind if we talk about the podcast for a second? Is that cool?
Yes.
Sure.
Of course.
I mean, we're on the podcast, right?
And let's talk about the podcast we're on. So, those of you who subscribe to the RSS feed of the podcast, and you get a notification as soon as we post something online, there is a 5 to 10 minute delay between that post and when the audio actually goes live. So if you get an RSS notification saying the podcast is live, but the audio is not working, hold up on the emails for like 5 to 10 minutes, and I promise you the audio will be there shortly. So that's all. That
happens every week.
It's a 2-step process, and because we don't actually pay for podcast hosting, which can be pretty expensive. We built the system ourselves. So it's a 2-step process, and we have to go through this every week. So all we ask is just wait a few minutes before clicking send on the email.
Yes.
And I love you.
And another thing about the podcast, as of a couple of days ago, we hit our 1-year anniversary.
Happy anniversary, guys.
So crazy. How in the world have we been doing this for a year?
I know, and we discovered it by accident. I was just like looking through old episodes. I'm like, oh, guys, it's Halloween. It's 1 year.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize we put it out on Halloween. I vaguely remember, I knew I had to drive to Nashville in the last fall, and that's when I was driving home from Nashville. It was the first time we all spoke. I was driving home, talking in the car, driving through Knoxville.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
That's where I drew that picture out of Hooters.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were
the list of names.
Yeah, brainstorming names.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Awesome.
All right, so what am I working on? I'm not really doing much in the shop this week. I have 4 videos to edit. I don't have time to work in the shop this week because of the videos to edit and shipping 50 books and all kinds of stuff. So I think my next video is going to be the ring video. So it's like a part every year. I'm going to put out a ring video. I think that's going to be the next one, and then I'm not sure which one will be after that. But it's nice to like. I enjoy the computer time, so it's nice to just like work in the office for a week and then work in the shop a week. It kind of like breaks things up for me. So that's what I got going on.
Awesome. Well, I have a lot going on actually. So I've been working on my arcade machine. It's actually a standing thing in my shop. Yes, happy to say.
Awesome. Can you point the camera at it?
No, it's in the other room. But I'll show it to you later. Yeah, but so I'm kind of tired of the finally comments that I've gotten from everybody, but I guess I deserve it. But anyway, yeah, so I've been working on that, which is really cool. But at the same time, it's a bigger project than, things I'm used to doing. And I know it's a self-imposed schedule, but I do have a schedule that I try to stick to. And so it's just bigger than that schedule, which has been one of the things that's stopped me from starting it so far. But anyway, so this week, I got to where I was like, I have a video for next week ready, and I don't have one I had one for today, the serving tray, and then I have one for 2 weeks from now, but I don't have one for next week. And so I decided to do a Maker 101 about Arduino, because a lot of people have asked me about like the basics of an Arduino, what it is, what it can do. So shot that today, and it was actually hard to shoot that because I really wanted to be working on the arcade, because I've gotten like good momentum on it, and it's like it's in the way. It's huge in my shop, so it's in the way for sure.
I saw your tweet the other day saying this is taking up every inch of space in my shop.
It really is.
I've gone through that. Like I have a small shop as well, and it's awesome to work on something that big and stinks at the same time.
You should make it your office. You can like climb inside and put a little chair in there. There's going to be a lot of vacant space in there, right? I mean, because now what used to take up a whole cabinet now is basically fits in an Arduino, right?
Yeah, but I have plans for the space. part of my thing that makes it mine.
He's going to Bob Clagett it up.
That's right. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm actually not showing any pictures of the progress, because of that use of the space. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. What I'm going to be doing actually this weekend, my marathon's coming up on Saturday.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So I'm excited / nervous about that, and kind of ready for it to be over. But
what is the most you've run up till now?
Well, I mean, I've run a marathon before, so that's 20.
For your training.
For this training, 20 miles is the longest training run, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And then the last 2 or 3 weeks of your training, it's called the taper, and the mileage goes down. And so this week I'm running like 3 miles and 2 miles, and which just feels kind of like a walk in the park after all the training. Like literally, it feels like I'm walking for 2 miles. But so yeah, that's coming up this weekend, this Saturday. So I'm getting to bed early every night this week and eating a lot of pasta and potatoes and drinking tons of water.
What's the point of the pasta and potatoes?
So when you run that kind of distance, your body can only hold so much fuel, and so you kind of load your body. It's called carb loading, and the carbs out of potatoes or pasta or breads, things like that, are the fuel that kind of gives your muscles stuff to work with. And so you kind of try to load your body up as much as you can in like maybe not really 3 days, but about 2 days before the race, so that your body is stocked up. And even like just from the physiology standpoint, like your body runs out of that fuel, even if you have it topped off in every muscle, there's only so much that can fuel, right? So it runs out at about mile 20, no matter who you are. That's just the physiology. So that's when people talk about hitting a wall when you're doing a marathon, because eventually you get to a point where your body has no more fuel, and then it starts trying to burn fat instead of fuel, which is way less efficient. And that's when your whole body just starts going like, I hate you. Why are we doing this? This is awful.
Wow.
So that's a horrible feeling. I've hit that one time really hard.
Wow. let's talk about, we always hear about what you do to train for a marathon. What do you do immediately after? Do you take a nap? Do you have to eat certain things, or what happens?
Usually, so our marathon here ends in a park, and so I usually cross the finish line. They have a bunch of food there. They have a bunch of like bananas and bagels and oranges. Chocolate milk is like one of my favorite drinks to drink after a long run, because it's a perfect combination of like sugar and protein, and it's filling from the milk and all this stuff. So I usually end up grabbing one of all those things and laying down in the park as long as I possibly can. Just drinking chocolate milk and water. And
will your family be there waiting for you at the end?
No, probably not. My wife is actually running it as well. She's doing her first full marathon this time. So we have some friends that are going to stay with the kids, so they'll be home. And so I'll get to lay in the park and wait for her to finish, which will be nice. It'll be a good reason not to move for a while. So
very cool.
Wow.
So that's coming up. But yeah, so I today asked on Twitter if anybody, I already had some topics, but I was curious if anybody had anything else that they wanted to talk about. And I just got some really good questions. So, and we haven't, anybody listening, the three of us have not talked about these. So I'm going to throw these out, and we're just going to kind of wing it. Is that cool with you guys?
I got my catcher's mitt on.
Okay. So, well, they're kind of in two different camps. So see what kind of mood you guys are in. Do you want to talk businessy type stuff, or do you want to talk like creative-y type stuff?
Let's do both, because everybody always wants to know both. Or people are intimidated by one.
That's true. What were you going to say, David?
My favorite is creativity. Sometimes I think businessy can get boring to certain people who are just doing this for fun. But this is about compromise, so let's do both.
Okay, well, we'll skip around a little bit. So,
did you guys see my tweets this week? I got like an angry few rants. Did anybody notice?
I saw one of them. One of the threads.
Yeah. I got angry with this multi-channel network thing because I keep getting emails from them, and I just my standard answer now, and I'm putting it out there for everybody to use. My standard answer: come back to me with a legitimate deal, and then I'll consider it. Because too many people get excited and they say, "Yeah, let's do it," and then all of a sudden they just go, "Okay, got that one," and so they just start collecting off of your income, and they don't have they have no incentive to do anything anymore. So if you could say, bring me a brand or bring me somebody, and then I will consider signing onto your network. Yeah, because there's a bit of a mystery. It's like we think we need these MCNs, and I personally haven't met since I just came out of one for 2 years, and nothing came of it. And then since I came out of it, know a couple of other YouTubers also, and we shared conversations, and nothing has come out of it. So I just hate to see more people being taken advantage of the way that I feel like I was. So
Mark
I think
Spagnuolo
the platform has to start to change a little bit.
Mark Spagnuolo taught me a good lesson a year and a half ago, and he basically said when you take a lowball offer just to take the money, you're basically lowering the bar for everybody else that's trying to do this. And so that kind of hit me because he was very open with me about how he makes his living, and so I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it's funny, like when I first started doing this, and I would first get the offers from these companies, not MCNs, but just like these brand deals, and I'm afraid to say no. I'm afraid to say that's not enough, because what if they don't come back? Now it's okay if they don't come back. But what I've learned is that is just their first offer. If you say no, you then open up the door to bigger and better deals. Well,
my other tweet was, when these people come to you with ad pitches, I said, whatever number they give you, come back at them with 5 times that amount. And don't let it be their first offer. That's basically what I said. I got a lot of stars. I think, and understandably so. I've been through the mill and back. I've been to hell and back. So I'm a scorned woman when it comes to this business. So I'll say anything to anybody anywhere. I'll start a fight right in the grocery store. I don't care.
That's why I love you.
So I got a lot of stars, but nobody really had much to say. But that's fine, because some people are in MCNs and they have something to protect. And if I was in one, I wouldn't say anything. Believe me.
We've only said negative things about MCNs. There are some positive things about them. Lot of I know. I am not part of a multi-channel network. So nobody takes any percentage of my YouTube AdSense. But when you're a part of these, a lot of times they will offer you royalty-free music for your videos. Some of them if you're in the right area, like Los Angeles or New York, you have access to a studio where you can film things in a studio. And then they also are supposed to help you get brand deals. So it's not all bad, but most people that I know have had a negative experience with them.
And then, actually, somebody came back at me on Twitter, and it was understandable. He's like, "Hey, I do a lot of," or he talked about somebody else who says he does a lot of gaming stuff, and there's a lot of copyright issues, and his multi-channel network team helps him through those copyright issues. And right there and then, of course, that's something. If you have an open and honest conversation with these people, and it's working for you, that's fine.
What's really interesting is, so I had recently signed up with one, and it's a very short contract as a trial. And I told them, like, I don't really have any reason to trust that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. So if you were really interested in me, let's do a very short trial, see if it works. And if it does, then we'll continue. And if not, that's fine. So I talked to two people that were on the same network beforehand, and I got polar opposite reactions. Jimmy was one of them.
In a bad way.
You were the one, but I also got another one from someone who has a very large channel. I'm not going to say who it is, but a very large channel, a very lucrative business. And his response was, this network has brought me about, in brand deals, has bought me about a third of my income every year.
That's great. Like I said, it could have been a personal thing. Maybe they don't like me personally.
No,
I don't think understandable.
I don't think it's personal. I think what's interesting is about where they can, or where they choose to focus their,
That's true too.
How marketable we are individually is where they're going to put their resources. And that makes sense. And that's really, from our perspective, that's really hard to judge how marketable we think they think we are, right? Because that's really what you're doing when you sign up with them. You're like, well, I just assume that they probably think I'm marketable enough to sell me, to sell my brand or whatever to ads or to brands, but we don't know any of that, and we don't really have access to like how their sales team works or anything. So there's a bunch of variables. You're right; it's going to work differently for every person.
Yeah, for sure.
Every genre, of videos, like. Maybe the type of videos that we make just don't make sense in MCNs. I don't know. I have no clue. But one of the comments that we got on Twitter when I asked this was from Daniel Quarez. I don't know if I saying your name right, Daniel. From Daniel. It says, when are you guys going to start your own YouTube network? Would you ever consider that?
Hey, I was joking. I was putting hashtag unionize so that all of us in the maker movement are at least like-minded in the way that we're not going to let these people take advantage of us by offering us free product or, do this, do that. That being said, if someone's going to offer me a $4,000 saw, like SawStop, and I actually have a good conversation with them and I feel good about it, I'll do it. But, so everything is very, negotiable.
Yeah, it's hard to generalize. Like every brand is going to be this way. Every deal is going to be this way or whatever.
Absolutely.
But as far as creating a network, no.
I have a funny story about the SawStop. So around the same time they sent you one, I was in contact with them, and they sent me a bunch of upgrades to my table saw. So I got the new sliding crosscut table, a new mobile base, a new extension wing, and new rails, and the bigger fence. And all of that is great, except I'm not a big fan of the sliding crosscut table. But my deal with SawStop is I have to keep this configuration for a year. So even though they sent me this free product, I have to keep using the sliding crosscut table for a year to, stick with it with our deal. But and the sliding crosscut table is phenomenal. It is super crazy well built. If you do mostly crosscuts, if you want to rip, it's kind of in the way. And it's kind of a hassle to get it out of the way. But SawStop is such a great product, and they're not paying me to say that, but it really is a solid, well-built.
I love my unit, and I'm gonna do a video in short shrift about the saw and some other updates. I have to do a shop update video, and I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, it is.
Bob, by the way, what was some of the questions? I just cut everybody off, and I didn't let you get at the question out.
No, so that was one of them. There were a lot of other ones about business stuff. Mm-hmm. So Andrew Setters that we talked about last week said, now we know how, he was saying, they now know how we started our channels, but how did we grow them? So that might be an interesting thing about how we actually, started to get growth. I can say for me, and I lucked out in this way, and this is not something everybody's going to have access to, but David had a huge part in my channel growth, especially at the very beginning, because He was doing his update show. I kind of cold called him and sent him my stuff. He put it on a couple of the shows, and I honestly saw a big amount of growth right there in that, and then it's snowballed from there. And so I've taken from that, both it was gracious of you, David, to put me in that show on a regular basis for a little while, but then also from that, I started becoming more, I don't know, like invested, more active in the content around what I was doing, not necessarily just mine. So I saw that being present in other people's comments on their videos and like trying to be, to add value to other people's videos through my commenting actually turned out, it sounds, I guess, selfish when you think of it that way, but I wasn't trying to like just, hey, everybody come over and check my channel out. It was more like, hey, if I can be a part of this community and be invested in the community and add some value to the other people, maybe they'll do the same for me, and
100%.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it, is just investing yourself in what other people are doing for the sake of helping them, of growing what they're doing. So
that's such a great tip. Don't abuse that. Don't say, hey, come look at me or whatever, but just be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And if you're part of many conversations over a period of time, people are going to be like, who is this guy? And they're going to click through and they're going to check you out. Adding to that, my neighbor just now decided to mow the lawn, so if you can hear that, I'm sorry. Adding
That's
to
me,
that,
actually.
Yeah, we'll just blame Jimmy. All noises are Jimmy's fault. So your channel would be where it's at with or without me putting it on the weekly show. If you make good content, you will get noticed. It might be a slow time, but I promise you, if you make good content, you will get noticed. The cream always rises to the top. You don't have to get on the weekly wrap-up show to blow up.
And that's what I meant. Like, not everybody's going to have that opportunity that I had there. So yeah,
and that show's not going to last forever. So
both of you guys, honestly, before I knew you guys, and Bob, you and I chatted a little bit early on before I noticed you, David. And I'll tell you how I noticed you. I've said it before, David, but I'll bring it up again. I noticed both of your branding right away. And I honestly, my branding was just me spray painting my name through an old stencil. But when I noticed both your brands, the orange and then the original Drunken Woodworker logo, I immediately said, oh, wow, these guys are pretty established. I mean, that was my very first impression. And then, Bob, you only had like a couple thousand subscribers before you owned the internet now. But, when I first met you, I was like, oh, wow. I honestly thought that you were some sort of creative partner with Make Magazine. I really did. When I saw that orange M, I'm like, oh, he must be a subsidiary of O'Reilly Media. That was my very first impression. Huh. And then when I clicked on your thing, I'm like, oh, he's just a young YouTuber getting started. And then within that same 10 to 12, 15 months, I made a stool, and I published the video of me making the stool, and I Googled it. Just that I usually do that first to make sure that I'm not exactly the same as somebody else. So I Googled wooden stool, and Drunken Woodworker popped up right away. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this guy. He's pretty established. And I looked, and you too were a young channel. But just from your branding right away, and then you had a stool very similar to mine. And I said, hey, dude, I just parallel thinking. I like what you're doing. And that's when you and I first started chatting. And so branding is very important. It definitely is like that. It's out there before anything, and it's the very first impression people get.
Branding is perceived value. Like you could have, that's a good point. You can have a crappy product, but good branding is going to get you known. You could have a fantastic product, and bad branding you're going to get buried. So that's right. Branding is everything, and I come from the marketing world, so it's all I know.
Yep. Yeah. The way my channel, I started, I say it's no secret that I started my channel right after I did the Dirty Money TV show at Discovery Channel. And just so that the next time I had another TV opportunity, I could at least have an audience. So I knew building my audience was going to be very long and slow. And then I started making videos, and I began talking to Make Magazine at the very same time. And they started to notice my videos, and they started saying, hey, maybe you would want to make exclusive content for us. And it took a long time for us to agree on a price. And that's what took so long. It took us almost like 6 to 8 months for us to finally agree. And it wasn't like an ongoing negotiation. I would say something, and then I wouldn't hear anything for months. And then they would say something, and then I'd be like, let me think about it. And then I'd say something. So, I mean, it was a conversation that probably could have took place in 10 minutes if we were more comfortable with each other in the early days. But anyway, so I knew was going to be good for me. And once I finally made an agreement with them, they bought 10 or 15 videos that I had already made, and then a schedule to make one every 2 weeks. And I'm up to like 80 videos now in these last few years. But I knew right away, as soon as my videos started showing up on Make Channel, my channel started to grow. And I was very fortunate to have my relationship with them, and I still am. And another interesting thing that happened to me is I got the opportunity to make that AK-47 guitar. And I was about to sell that video to Make Magazine, and Wyclef's people said, "Don't sell it. Put it on your channel. Put it on your channel." And so I was like, all right. I put it on my channel. And then it started going viral almost immediately. And now it's over 3 million views. It's 3,100,000 change right now. I just noticed this morning. So that video right away got me a lot of, and I had no idea. I just like, I'm gonna get hell for ruining a guitar. That's all I kept thinking. People are gonna just say you ruined it, and it turned out to be a really good video.
Going off what Jimmy is saying, don't try to make a viral video. It never, ever works. When I was in the marketing world, we had clients who were like, we want to make this video go viral. I'm like, first of all, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You have to make videos for the right reasons. You can't make videos because you want to be famous or because you want to get noticed by somebody. You have to do it for what you enjoy doing for yourself. You have to do it because you love it. Or not even just videos, but anything that you do.
It's so hard to tell what's going to go viral. You just never know. You have absolutely no, you don't know at all.
So I have a couple of things to that. One, you're totally right about not being able to make things viral. And one of the things that I've tried really hard to do in my videos is to make the content, the core of this specific video, to be evergreen, so that it's not necessarily in style. But if it's not necessarily in style at this moment, that means it's not going to be out of style in 6 months or in a year. And so if your target is a viral video and you make, you think whatever's popular right now, I don't know, whatever it is, and you make a video about that thing, yeah, it may be interesting to a lot of people this week, but next week, when that thing's not cool anymore.
I have a planking video coming up.
Been sitting on that one, huh?
Yeah, it's I've been waiting to release it. You know where I'm like standing across 2 chairs?
Awesome.
That no good?
I mean, go ahead and release it. You never know. Maybe it'll come back.
Oh, really?
Give that one to make. Give that one to make.
I do plank and then I pour water on my head.
There you go. That's a good example right there. Like that's one of those things. And I did one. I tried to do my own spin on it and everything. But that's a good example of like if you try to do something that's viral, it's only relevant right now. And it's better as a long-term, business plan, channel growth, brand growth thing to focus really hard on evergreen content, videos that are always going to be relevant or, as relevant as they can be a year, 2 years, 10 years down the road.
That's why I don't put any credits on my stuff anymore. I also wanted to try and I've said it before and I said it recently. I want I'm starting to think of my videos as music songs, like just individual songs. So there's no credits and, my branding is throughout. So there's no reason to put a date or a copyright date or where I made it or any of that stuff. Because when I see that online, I see a video that has like Casey does it all the time, but Casey's is a little different because this is a daily vlog, but he always says the date where, where it was made in New York or wherever. I always kind of see it if it's a couple of weeks or a month or a year old. I'm like, oh, I missed this one. I guess it's not fun anymore, or it's stale. It's just my own personal thing.
Yeah, even though it might not be, but your brain thinks, oh, this is old. This doesn't have value.
It's like an expired date on a bag of chips.
Yeah. So the other thing that I was going to bring up, and this is, I think, a point where we have a pretty different opinion, at least Jimmy and I, about, and I can see a valid point to both sides of this. So in making video or making content to grow your business, and making that targeted at internal use or external use. So this is something I've thought a lot about because I did one video for Make, and this has nothing to do specifically with Make, but I thought ahead of time, yes, I could start making separate videos on a certain schedule for another venue, for another channel, for another external source, and that would be a way for me to make money on selling that piece of content to that, and with the idea that that's also going to drive people back to my core business and it will build that as well. That's the idea. And I think that happens. Obviously that happened for you, Jimmy. So that's why I think it's kind of different, from person to person, where the value lies in trying to build your own internal brand and your own like media library or whatever you want to call it. versus trying to get exposure on this channel and that channel and this blog and that blog. And I know a lot of people will write like sponsored or like guest posts on other people's blogs and things like that. So I don't want to devalue any of that stuff, but that's something that I think everybody should think about. Like, where are you going to get the most bang for your buck? Is it creating a video that you're going to sell to another channel and get X $100 or X $1,000 for that video? Or is it better long term to keep that video on your own kind of network in your own house and let it aggregate income over the next 50 years or whatever? So that's something to think about, because it is different.
It's funny. The way I've kind of reconciled that is, of course, in the beginning I had like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers when I started with Make Magazine, and they immediately grew. I mean, I was getting subscribers immediately the day that video first released, the first one I put on their channel. And so what I do now is, if I put a video, I'll really kind of personally think I want videos that are a little bit more eccentric on my channel, a little bit more generic on Make Magazine, and a little bit more out of my own comfort zone for Core. So I have these like 3 sort of criteria. So Make Magazine this week, I'm making a video where I'm just basically I did the lesson plan with my students, and I got a really good reaction out of the group. So I said, let me make a video of me starting on the computer and designing a package, and then printing it, and then making it into a package. So I'm making another package design video for, at this point, hopefully it'll be released on the Make channel. So that's the type of video I've already done. I did a really quick one with the FedEx package, but this time the video starts with me on the computer laying the die line out. And so what I'm saying is, I do kind of more like straightforward. I try to more straightforward educationally stuff, a little bit more middle of the road as far as risque. And then on my channel, I'm doing guns and violence and danger.
Oh, I see how you broke it up. Gotcha.
Yeah. That's not completely true, but that's funny.
my friend Thomas he's on my YouTube channel shooting a shotgun from like 5 years ago. He's got a great accent. He's got a great sense of humor. And he was in my shop all week. So he was on my Snapchat. If anybody's been watching my Snapchat, Thomas and I have been working on this project together. And Thomas says, he goes, I really like your videos. Everything you make is designed to hurt another person. It's really nice. And that's his his Denmark sarcasm. He says, everything you do is designed to hurt somebody. It's very nice. It's working well for you. That's how Europeans think of America, by the way, in general.
Well, yeah, that's very true. Yeah. All right, let's move on to another one, something non-businessy. Okay, Tony Platt said, how does recording video not slow you down? I just get started and it feels like a handbrake.
Yeah, you just get used to it. Just like I hear that voice in the back of my head saying, you should be recording this. I personally think to myself, you need like what they call keyframes, wherever the action becomes something totally new or makes a turn for the next step. You got to film those key moments. You're not going to, like, if you're going to paint, for instance, the side of a barn, you start dipping your brush and you start videotaping that, and then you shut the camera off. You paint the whole barn, and at the end, you do the last few inches and stick the can lid on, and then that's how you end that scene.
What's that saying?
Stuff like that. Oh, get in late and get out early. I mean, I just described the whole shoot, but I'd be more creative than I just described. But I might, if I was going to shoot the side of a barn, I would start doing it.
You would do it with a shotgun.
I would actually shoot it. No, I would probably start painting, and then halfway through I'd turn the camera on. That's probably what I would do. You'll notice it in the Procon sign video. A couple of the CNC things, I filmed from beginning to end, but I cut out like a couple of big chunks in the middle just to make them go faster. And then there's one where I just filmed the very first one, but then all of a sudden I had eight pieces of the first thing I cut. But it's implied that so once I get that one piece out of the way, then I concentrated on getting 8 good pieces cut out of the CNC. I made these scaffolding pieces that look like metal scaffolding. So yeah, it's just an important part. If you want to tell a good story, you really have to kind of put your mental emphasis on the video and what you're making at the same time. Yeah. You can't just say, I'm making something and the camera's just tagging along for the ride. You're making a video and you're making an object, and you really have to keep those two forefront in your mind.
I'm assuming this is the same for you guys, but when I'm making something, I'm in a rhythm. right? I'm in that zone, and that camera is just part of the zone. Like, yes, filming takes up so much more time, and it adds so much more work to the process. But now it's just part of my routine, and I don't even think of it as this project takes me 3 times longer now because of the camera. I think of it as this is the project as a whole is the thing that I'm building and the video. And the thing that slows me down is my small shop and moving the camera around, hitting it up on the ductwork, and tripping over the bandsaw. Like, I just need a bigger shop, and I could be more efficient, but it's just part of my rhythm.
You know how many times I set up a perfect shot, and I'm using this long 300 millimeter lens now all the time. I set up the perfect shot, and I go, okay, cool. Now let me turn the camera on, and the second I move away from the back of the camera, I drag the tripod on my foot. I do it probably every single time. It's so annoying. I got to get a tripod that doesn't have like a 6-foot wide diameter footprint.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, David. Like, for me, it's now where the content that I'm producing is the product, not the thing that I'm making in the video, right? Yeah. So even though it does take more time to video it, that's just kind of, like you said, it's part of the process now. That's part of what it is. Now, I can see that would be a lot more difficult if someone is like they got commissioned. It's like, see, Jimmy, you deal with this. You get commissioned to do a thing. The thing is what you're actually getting paid for up front. And then you're intentionally making that take longer so you can make video of it. Right. That's a very different situation than I'm in personally. So, and that's probably the more common situation where somebody's making something for a friend or to sell or whatever, and then the video is probably getting in their way. But there's no way around that. It is. Well, it is getting.
Like I said, the way I think of it is, I'm trying to satisfy my client's needs. I'm learning something new about materials, and I'm making this awesome piece of video that's going to also generate income on my channel as well. And then I'm also, of course, always looking for those key moments where I could educate and enlighten people to something new that I'm learning or that I know. And so, the video is an accompaniment to the whole thing. So right. I thirst for like real client work because it's nice for me to be able to do something that isn't just like something around the shop to make a video. I really like making, client work and making a video of it, because then it shows real life situation, real life problems.
Yeah, it's purpose-made stuff, which I'm the same way. I enjoy purpose-made things more. Let's see. We should probably wrap up soon, but let's do one more real quick. Twitter is jumping around. What's one thing you wish someone had told you in the beginning? For example, I wish I knew about Tear Out. What's a thing that you've run into that you wish you knew that you didn't have to like fight through?
Yeah, Tear Out on veneer plywood. And early on when I first started spending $75 for a sheet of plywood, I'd pass it through and I flip it over and I'm like, oh, wow, I just destroyed a whole sheet of plywood. So learning about that Tear Out, years ago when you very first start playing around with.
I've got a great veneered plywood Tear Out video that I put out a few weeks ago, so check that out.
Oh, cool. There's lots of solves.
Tape. Yeah, there's many ways to do it, but I'm using masking tape to prevent that.
You know what helps too? This sounds stupid, but I take a wet rag and I wet the joint. So now all those little tiny brittly veneers don't pop out. They're all softened. So when you cut through it. Yeah. So that works sometimes, not always. And, of course, try and put a razor line on one side of the cut. Or
razor line. You can raise the blade as far as it'll go. That will help a little bit too. You can do
zero clearance.
Zero clearance. You can do a scoring cut. There's many ways you can actually do this. So,
yeah. No, I guess I wish somebody told me that I wasn't going to be a TV star early on. I would have put too much energy into it. No, I had a conversation yesterday with a television production company. I said to her at the end of the day, I said, it's really nice to know that people are talking about me. But it was a television production company doing a show for Discovery Channel, and Discovery Channel to them called Jimmy Diresta to get involved with this. So they called me like thinking I had the deal. And so the woman was like, it was scheduled last week to have this BS conversation. And she says, so, are you interested in this? It's this thing. I probably get in trouble if I talk about it, but it's about me being involved in, it's like a Shark Tank type of thing. And I was like, you know what? I go, this is all interesting and well to talk about. I said, but it's going to, right up to the minute there's going to be a contract negotiation, it's going to fall short. I said, you're going to offer me nothing. And there was like a long silence. She's like, well, how much would you need to get paid? And I said, at least $1,000 a day if I was going to be working on a television set. She's like, yeah, wow, yeah. And I could just hear like the conversation just deflated. I said, you can't offer me $1,000 for a week's worth of work. It's just not. And you can't also say, this TV show is going to help your business. I said, because I can't do my business and make a TV show at the same time.
Yep.
And the conversation. And then ultimately we realized I wasn't a fit for it at all, because they were looking for people that had money to invest in other people's ideas. He said, well, would you be interested in investing in ideas? I said, no. I said, I want people to invest in me. I'm not going to go out and find somebody with some fakakta idea and give him money. I said, I want people to give me money for my ideas.
Yeah.
So that was right there where the conversation came to another screeching halt. But
I can just hear like cars crashing, stuff exploding. Yeah, she's like, "How do I get off the phone now?"
That's pretty much what she said. She was very sweet, and I didn't hold her personally. It's the collective industry mentality. I just said, I said I'm doing great on YouTube. I said I'm meeting advertisers. I could make decisions whether I want to do commercials with them. I said I have complete control over my content. I said I could make no money and be completely alone in my shop and listen to heavy metal. I don't have to do it with 30 people standing around me and sharing my ideas. Yeah. That's what I said to her. She laughed. She goes, I understand that. So
for me, and this is not a fun answer because it really only affects me, but I wish I would have known that I was going to do this for a living. So I've had my blog up for a while, but my older videos and my earlier blog posts are lacking in good write-ups. Some of my older videos, like I hate it. My most viewed video is me making a bandsaw box, and in the background is a bottle of whiskey. And I did not mean that bottle of whiskey to be in the background. And I'm known as a drunken woodworker. And so there's so many comments on there of like,
nothing's wrong with it.
Nothing. And so it bothers me. I wish I would have made plans for those older projects. I wish I would have taken better photography, because those posts would have a better life now. And I'm going back and I'm redoing some of them. But man, it's a lot of work. It always feels like I will never catch up on my website because there's so much I want to do to it.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Yeah, for me, I don't really know anything specific. I think I would have to think more about that. But I think maybe looking at the going full time, like switching from software to this full time, one thing I wish I had a better handle on ahead of time is knowing how little time I would actually be able to spend making stuff. Because I think I would have planned a little differently. I would have tried to, before it was a requirement, I would have tried to outsource some of the stuff that I have to spend my time doing, because I do get to make things, but I don't get to make things 5 days a week. I get to make things like 2 days a week, and the rest of it is business, and the rest of it is email and video editing, which is fun. And I actually have somebody helping me with editing now, which is fantastic.
Oh, awesome.
But it's not like, it's not, 4 or 5 days a week in the shop and then like a night or two of editing to get a post ready. It's not like that at all for me. And I don't know how it is for other people, but
tell me if you get this, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you have like family members and friends that think like since you're your own boss, you have all this extra free time?
No,
absolutely.
I don't.
Because
wait, you don't have any friends, or you don't have any free time?
Yes,
but yes. I mean, there is so much for me to do at all times. It's like this is not a complaint. This is nowhere near a complaint. I love everything that I do, but I have so much to do all the time.
Yeah. And anytime you work for yourself, no matter what it is, no matter what the place is and what you're doing, you will have an endless amount of work. There will never be a point where you're like, all right, everything is tied up. Let's go to the beach.
And you know why that is? Because we're always trying to improve ourselves.
That's right. And you want things to be moving forward. That takes energy. That things don't move without energy. And so you have to put into it. You just have to decide at what points do you have to back off enough and let the thing coast so that you can recharge. And that's where I'm about 6 months into this. And so I'm trying to find those places where, like this week, I'm doing the Maker 101 video, which is me talking to the camera. It's not me making anything for a project, and it still has value, but I had to decide specifically, I'm not going to get to make an extra thing this week because I just don't have the time. I have to like juggle. Where do I make something? Where do I produce content? Where do I whatever? So arcade wins this week. But anyway, all right. So that's pretty good for that one. Let's wrap it up. But let me talk about Patreon real quick, and then let's talk about what we're watching.
All right.
Did you pick anything? Did you guys pick anything? Okay, awesome.
I do.
So I want to thank Luis Gonzalez, Nicholas Gomez, and Jeremy White. They're our top guys at Patreon. We're really grateful for all the support that we get from Patreon because that helps us pay for hosting on our website. It pays for stuff, and it means a lot that people are willing to do that to any degree. Even a little bit. It's amazing. And we had a lot of support there. And so I just don't want to discount that because we are really grateful. All of us are really grateful for those people. And also, I don't know if you guys even know this, but Patreon, the company, actually put out an app in the last week or 2 weeks or so.
Oh, really? I just joined Patreon and I downloaded the app immediately. I didn't know that it was new.
Yeah, it's brand new. And it's a way to interact with the same content you get on the website, but it's better fit for a mobile device and stuff.
I think it's great just so you can engage with the audience because people can leave comments on Patreon. And sometimes, I have emails turned off. So sometimes I actually have to think, I should go see if anybody's commented on Patreon. And I have to do that. But if you have the app, it's always kind of right there and you can do so while driving or whatever.
One-handed while you're videotaping yourself, I hope.
There we go.
You guys know I'm joking.
Yep.
Please be safe.
Not.
So thanks to all those people from Patreon. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/makingit, or you can just share the show around,
Please.
Post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook, post it on your front door of your house. Make a sign.
Political. Let's make it political.
Post it on the back of your car. I don't know, you post it wherever you want to. Okay, so
put it right next to your Trump sticker.
So what are we watching? What are you guys watching?
So I've been, this is original gangster of YouTube, Mystery Guitar Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So he's one of the reasons I really started getting into YouTube. If you're not familiar with Mystery Guitar Man, he does all kinds of musical type videos. He might record him playing a note on video and then record another note, and then compile all those notes into this crazy music video with crazy special effects. And over the years, he's gotten so good at what he does. His production is phenomenal. He started in this little apartment, and now this is what he does for a living. But just recently, his latest video is nothing like any of his previous videos. It's a 15-minute short film, and it's really, really good. You just get dropped off in the middle of a story, so you kind of have to fill things in on your own. Sounds like fun. Yeah, and the ending's fantastic. It's just it's the pacing is perfect, and the dialogue is awesome. It's just so good. So check out Mystery Guitar Man.
Awesome. Right on. I've been watching two of the people I've already talked about, but I want to talk about two series that they have. I'm going to talk about Mr. Pete 222. He is an old machinist from somewhere in Illinois, and he is an old machine shop teacher, and he's extremely smart with practical knowledge of mechanics and everything. And he's doing a small series called What Makes It Work. Excuse me, I coughed on that. What Makes It Work. And he talks about a 2-stroke engine, a 4-stroke engine, an engine hoist, just real simple mechanics, and he explains them and he does models and shows how they work. So that is definitely something you guys could check out if you're into just regular shop stuff. And he's an old man with a very funny delivery, and he's very smart. And then also I've been watching Chucky 2009's tractor build. I don't know if anybody's been watching that. He's making this crazy Franken tractor made from an old Chevy truck. He offered me the nose of it to make into a couch, but he's in Texas and I'm in New York. But
UPS.
I know. I should throw it. We actually talked about U-Ship. I'm like, I have enough junk in my driveway. The good thing about this tractor build is that he's not a professional mechanic by any means. He's a professional welder, so he knows that this should go next to that, and he welds that. And he's Frankensteining this engine into this old tractor, and he cut the body apart, made it really long. And there's a million problems to solve. And watching him solve problems, he's even actually turned off his comments a couple times because he's just like, I know this is going to upset the backyard mechanics of the world. So he just he's up to episode 13. He's turned his comments completely off on a couple of them where he's just completely out in the dark figuring things out because he knows all the know-it-alls are going to tell him what he should have done. But check that out. So Chucky's Tractor Build and Tubla Canes, Mr. Pete 222, his What Makes It Work series. And then, by the way, I actually got a nice comment this week from Rory May, the blacksmith, who said, thank you for sending people to my channel. So if you do go to these channels as a result of what you hear us say, just let them know so people know how important this blog is.
Oh, yeah.
Our podcast.
No. For me, I have been watching some of the talks from XOXO this year. Are you guys familiar with XOXO?
No.
So it now. It's a festival. I think it's kind of like an invite-only festival that's every year in Portland, maybe, and it was last month or something like that. But so they have these people who, podcasters or YouTubers or bloggers or just people that are really good at what they do come and do talks. And the talks are usually around 20 minutes long. And they're usually people that really stand out at what they do, not just like that they're famous for it, but that there's something unique about them. And so I've seen talks on this channel from Jack Conti from Patreon and Pomplamoose. He did one that actually really lit a fire under me several years ago about creating content for the sake of content, not for the sake of advertising, things like that. And Hank Green, who we've talked about before, I think I talked about last week, he had a really good one. And I don't know, there's a whole bunch of them that just came out or are coming out on a regular basis now from this past years. But, they're just good talks about all sorts of different kind of topics and how the people got to where they are and what they're doing and things like that. So you might find some stuff there that's interesting.
Everything is live or put up on the website?
I don't know that they put all of them up, but they have been releasing some of them, since the conference or the festival. Okay. I think it's every few days they put one out or something. And I don't have any clue how many there are or how many they're going to be, but I've enjoyed them. So. Cool. Yeah, I guess that's about it. We're going to be at Rochester Mini Maker Faire in, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Wow. Oh, my God, that's in 2 weeks?
I think so. Did
I say I was going to that?
Yeah, you're going. Oh, you're going, all right.
We're picking you up on the way, Jimmy.
Yeah. Oops.
We're going. Yeah, we're all going to be there doing a talk together. David Welder's going.
Yep, David. And I told a couple of other people, I'm not sure who else might come too, but I told Peter Brown, but I know he's too far away, and I told Nick Ferry, so I don't know if they're going to make it.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll be there. Anybody in the area, come hang out with us, and we'll get dinner and hang out and stuff after the fair as well.
Yep.
You guys got anything else for this week?
Wait, guys, see if you can guess what the sound of this is.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty horrible sound.
Can you see that?
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, you can. Oh, I thought because I had you turned off for a minute, so I didn't think you could see me. I'm thinking of being clever.
Wow.
No, I'm on another window watching a video.
That's the sound of merchandise.
This is the sound of my new Sharpie, and I resisted doing this the entire time. I got yelled at for making too much noise last week. So I have Diresta Sharpies on my channel.
Why does it make that sound? All Sharpies don't do that.
No, only Diresta Sharpies make these. Because they're squeaky clean and brand new.
Oh, one of my favorite comments, it was on, I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Facebook, whatever, but what's the difference between a Diresta Sharpie and a regular Sharpie?
Yeah. Do you know what the answer was? I remember.
No.
He said regular Sharpie equals Chevy, Diresta Sharpie equals Cadillac.
Yes.
That was on Instagram.
Instagram. That was good.
Yeah. No, so I have Diresta Sharpies on my thing, so that's all. And then I'm on Patreon, so I'm just begging for some help. That's all.
Yeah, you guys go support Jimmy on Patreon.
Thank you.
Do it.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, we have some extra topics from this week. Maybe we can just roll over into next week.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it again. Cool.
And then any more people want to add, hit us up.
Yeah, tweet at us at Making It Podcast. Leave them on Facebook. Leave comments on the website under the episode, whatever you want to do.
Cool.
And we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Thank you all.